Hello, lovely people. It's Nicola back in the Stitches and Slapdashery sewing room. We're trying a little bit of a different angle today because I have rather a lot of stuff piled on my sewing table. It's looking a little disastrous, but I promise there is a method to my madness. It's Sunday today. I hope you had a wonderful week and you're having a good weekend. Let me see. What should we start with? Last week, my friend Annette came around and we had a little playtime with crafts things. I sort of thought I was going to be doing some stitching, but then she brought over some plastic eggs with a cutout front and a couple of styrofoam eggs. And so we ended up doing decoupage. So that was fun. And then I tried a little bit of that idea by Lindsay Dixon Creative, where she pasted strips to till roll and then rolled it up so that she could use it as little tear off notes, or flipping it over, she could use it for an art project. So I did a very small amount of that to try, but it didn't have a lot of glue left at that point. So after that, where did I put it? I think I've put it in my glue pegboard bag over there. I bought a really big bottle of glue. So I am stocked up now with a large bottle of Elmer's school glue, 6 glue sticks, and what else did I get? Another thing of Mod Podge gloss because I do like it a lot. And I also bought some multi-surface acrylic, multi-surface satin acrylic because I needed to paint the inside of my egg with the cutout. You'll see it in a minute. And I didn't think that the regular acrylic was going to work for that. To be honest, I can't say I noticed much difference. When I put the first coat of acrylic on the plastic, it didn't seem to be adhering. That's a good word, isn't it? Very well. Spring seems to have arrived in British Columbia. We had a little flurry of winter weather. Then it went up to 22 degrees one day, and then it settled down to teens temperature. And yeah, Mr. Stitches and I went out walking yesterday about 6:30 maybe. And I thought, oh, well, I don't need too many layers. I'll just throw on this sort of rainbow jacket I have that I adopted from my son because he wasn't wearing it anymore. And it has a fleece lining, but it's more like a sweatshirt than a coat. And that wind went right through it. So still getting a little cool at night. But the forsythia's coming out. The violets are out in the garden. The various bulbs are starting to poke through the garden, and that is wonderful. The apricot blossom is coming out on our tree. So yeah, all wonderful signs of life. And of course, there are squirrels and birds galore hopping around and jumping around in my garden. I love seeing them. So let's get on with the crafty stuff, shall we? The eggs. Let's start with the eggs. This is the first egg I did. It's a styrofoam shape, and I didn't even think about it, but I didn't have a special kind of Mod Podge or glue for fabric or styrofoam, but I just used my Mod Podge gloss, brushed it onto the styrofoam, stuck some fabric on, went through all of my scrap bag, and my friend did the same. She was just going through my pile of scraps. I just emptied them out on the floor between us and we just went crazy. And this fabric is all from the same line. It had black cats on it, mice, birds, flowers, butterflies. Absolutely gorgeous. And so I built up a layer, and then I added some of the extra blue pieces on there because I like the pots of flowers. Gives a nice hard surface when it's all dry. So I'm really happy with how that worked out. It has a little bit of a dent in there, but that's because the styrofoam wasn't perfect, but that's all right. So what I'm doing is, for displaying these 2 eggs that I made on my windowsill, I'm just using mason jar lids, those kind that are the 2-part lids. So I'm just using the ring part just so that it stands up on my dining room windowsill. So it looks pretty. And then the other one took a bit of an extra effort. Okay, I'm trying to get my little nest going up the right way. So this is the plastic egg she brought with the cutout front, and it came with a teeny tiny egg, which I hope you can see in there. And we went out in my garden and we picked a few bits of brown stick off one of my shrubs out there. And once we had decoupaged the outside with magazine pages, this is why I'm now hoarding magazines like you wouldn't believe, we put the little sticks onto some parchment paper and just poured glue on them, and it took a long time to dry, a long time, and then stuck the egg on top. So while that was all drying, I had to pick up some of that multi-surface acrylic, and I gave the inside a couple of coats of that lovely blue. So that is finished now. I really enjoyed doing that. That was great. So that's that done. The other thing I did while she was here was I used this idea by Lindsay Dixon, as I said before, and I pasted a bunch of this fabric. Now this is, I think, fabric that actually my friend Annette may have given me last year in a scrap bag, because I know I didn't buy this. It's a Christmas fabric. And I just decided to use all of the same fabric and just glue it. Lindsay used wallpaper paste, and I just glued 2-inch wide, roughly 2-inch wide pieces to this till roll. And I ended up with a small roll of paper / fabric. So what Lindsay did, she got some rope and she just tied some rope through it. And she said you can hang it up wherever you need to have note paper or whatever. And you just tear it across. The reason you leave that gap there is you tear it across the gap. You can write a shopping list or a little love note or anything you want to the back. And then when that's finished with, you can use the fabric front side for something. So I just did a small amount. As I said, I was running out of glue at the time. And maybe I'll hang that up in the kitchen and use it as note paper, because I have quite a lot of this till roll stuff. And I also had prepared a whole bunch more 2-inch wide pieces from the scrap bag, but maybe I'll hang on to those for now and not carry on with this, because I have moved on to other things now. If I find that I am using this and enjoying using it, I will definitely make more. If you were watching last time, you will have seen me make a big 20-inch square piece of scrap fabric using batting, scraps and tulle and free motion quilting. And then I cut it up and I used most of it for making a fabric pot, which I think came out quite pretty. So, of course, there was a chunk left. So I've used some of it. This is how much I have left of it. So enough to make another project or 3. The reason I made a piece that was larger than I needed it to be was so that I could make multiple things with it, including some jewellery. So to keep things simple, once I had cut the rectangle to go around the fabric pot, which I was building up around, what was I using it? Oh yes, I was using like a protein powder container. I had a strip that was this size, so I decided to keep it that size and not cut it down any further and turn it into a cuff or bracelet. So let's just see if I can get this on myself. I'm pretty sure I can. The trouble with some bracelets, you need help to get them on, right? Like this bracelet here, my sister gave me for my 60th birthday a few years ago. I always have to get one of my family to help me on with that, because it's got a bit of spring to it and it just doesn't want to lie nicely while I'm doing it up. So this is what it looks like on. It's quite wide. I was not sure whether I really wanted it that wide, but I didn't want to cut a sliver off and waste it. So I just used cam snaps. The purple ones, I have a whole range of colours, but the purple ones just seem to go best. I backed it with some lime green felt and just did a whip stitch. Oh no, I did a blanket stitch. Yeah, blanket stitch around. And then I added a couple of flower buttons to it just for fun. And once I had done that, I wanted to make some earrings. And so it was tricky because I wanted to cut small pieces from here that had at least one or two of the same colours in. And I was looking around thinking, where can I cut it from? What can I do? And in the end, I figured it out. And then I realised I had some turquoise flower buttons that were the same as the green flower buttons. And so I put them on there. So here are my little earrings. Should be wearing them today, shouldn't I? I put my mushroom earrings in today. I need to wear these. So they were very, very simple. I just cut a piece of that scrap fabric. I did a little whip stitch edging, put a button on, made sure that when I was doing the whip stitch edging, I included a little split ring in there and added my hooks, and it's got pink felt on the back. I wondered if it might be a little bit too thick, but it's fine. And I wondered also if, being long rectangles, they might twist, but they actually hang really nicely with no skewing. So that's fantastic. So yeah, earrings. The other thing that I made, because I cut a couple of circles out of this piece and I had some very teeny tiny, almost triangular pieces, I trimmed these triangular pieces to be neat and tidy. And then I put the pink felt on the back of each piece, and then I layered them and used another button to hold the layers together, to go through all the layers, and then just put a pin on the back. Now, I bought myself some cheap dollar store safety pins for just this sort of purpose. Could I find them? No. So I ended up using one of my bent quilting pins, but oh well, I still have plenty of them left. I just thought that was kind of fun. This little piece, it can move. So if I don't like it looking like that, I can always change the way the triangles interact with each other. I'm not sure if I would wear that on my body necessarily. Maybe I would, but I could definitely pin it to a bag just for fun. So that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. There's my little 3 pieces of jewellery. And just think how many more pieces of jewellery I could make out of this piece. Or I could make, you know what, I'm just thinking, if I cut a rectangle out of this area, I could make a little pouch, maybe a little snap pouch. Wouldn't that be adorable? Looks like that's on the to-do list now. A couple of weeks ago, I think I showed you a crochet dishcloth that I'd made. I had used this yarn here, and I'm pretty sure it drops saffron, and I dyed it with Rit. Anyway, it used to be white, it's cotton. So I crocheted actually 3 of them in the end, not just the one, but 3. And it was just super easy, granny squares, 7 rounds, doubled the yarn so that it was really fast. And I was going to toss these in the wash and use them for myself, but you know what? I have so many, so many dishcloths in my closet. I'm not going to run out anytime soon. So I think I've decided I'm going to crochet a chain with this. Got the hook ready and everything. I'm going to crochet a little chain and I'm going to roll these up, tie them up with a crocheted chain and put them aside for a gift for somebody, or maybe to go in the auction at the festival in September. So that also is something I need to finish off. Don't worry, we're getting to the main event in a minute. I've decided what to do for April, but I've got one more thing to show you first. Mr. Stitches, aka my husband, I knitted him some fingerless mitts about, well, probably over 10 years ago. I used James C. Brett marble, and he has been wearing them mostly downstairs when he's on his computer in the basement family room, because it gets cold down there and his hands freeze. And also in the winter, he likes them when he's even upstairs on the couch, on his computer or watching TV or whatever. I have darned those things multiple times. The edges have frayed. The yarn has held up really well. It didn't pill at all, but because he's worn them so much, the edges have frayed a few times, and I've had to get some extra yarn and just reinforce it so they didn't completely unravel. And I thought the other day, when I was mending them yet again, I thought maybe he needs some new mitts. And I thought, what yarn should I use? I don't think I have much in the DK weight range, like the marble. And then I remembered I've got the Heartland. I've got the Heartland upstairs in a huge bag. I'm doing granny squares with it over the course of months and months. It's a very slow project. And I thought, perfect. The Lion Brand Heartland is kind of a light medium or light worsted weight, I find. Pretty thin, more like a DK almost. And I decided I was going to use my own knitting pattern, which I published on my blog, Nicola Knits, over 10 years ago. And they're called Marble Lace Fingerless Mitts. And I did make a Ravelry entry for them, which links to the blog. Now, the blog has been through a bit of flux over the years. I started out on Blogger, then I went to WordPress, and then I went to a paid domain name, and then I went back to the free version. And because I'm on the free version now, I don't think I can add any more photos or anything to it, because I maxed out my limit a long time ago on the paid plan. So I don't update the blog anymore, but the patterns are still there. And I will link to it underneath the video so that you can go check it out if you like. The reason I called them Marble Lace Fingerless Mitts is that I used the marble to design them, and they had a lacy pattern on the back of the hand, which I'm leaving off for Mr. Stitch's mitts. I realised after I was knitting them that the ones he's got upstairs on the couch have a thumb gusset, and my design has one of those, what do they call them? It's the one where the thumb just like grows out of the palm, a little tiny thumb out of a little opening right here, and I can't remember what that's called. And I thought, oh well, he's going to have to like this style now, because I'm not doing a thumb gusset. This way is so much easier. I decided to use the Lion Brand Heartland. I think it's Yosemite, this rusty colour. I do love it. I have quite a few colours in this. I considered very briefly doing it in grey, because I have one grey ball of the Heartland, and I'm not including it in my granny squares. And I thought, he won't like the grey. He likes a bit of colour. So I'm mostly following my own pattern for this. I did extend the ribbing on the wrist to be 4 inches or so. I didn't measure with a tape measure. I just measured it against my palm. And then I went to the stockinette until I got to the crease of the thumb. And then I put some waste yarn in here, and then what did I do? A few rows more stockinette, and then a few rows of ribbing, and then went back and picked up the stitches and did a few rows of ribbing on the thumb. And they're quite roomy. What I ended up doing was using a smaller size needle. My pattern says 3.75, which is a US 5. And I thought I'll do the size down for the ribbing and then go up to the 3.75. So a 3.5 for this, 3.75 for this, and then finish it just all on the 3.75. It's still quite roomy here, but I think his hands are a bit wider than mine. And so it should be fine. And so I did probably this much the first day, and then I finished it all yesterday. I stayed up late and watched a couple of episodes of, what was it, Shakespeare and Hathaway on BritBox just to finish them off and go to bed a bit late because I was getting excited about finishing the first one. So far, I only have the one. It feels really nice, this yarn. I think you'll like it. I know we're going into spring, but our basement room will stay cool for quite some time yet, so he'll still get some use out of those. All right, now for the fun part. I'm going to move the tripod that you're on around to the side of my table so you can see what my sewing table looks like, and I'll explain why it looks like that. Now, you don't usually see this angle because you have to look at my messy closet back there. This is my closet back here full of interfacing and denim and fleece bits and woven bits and knit bits. Knit bits, that sounded funny, didn't it? The other evening I came down here and I have been making plans. I want to try and start using the stuff that's been stashed in here so that it doesn't just sit here forever and a day. So I made some piles. I went through this. This is my pattern box. So my pattern collection isn't that big, especially considering I worked at Fabricland for 9 years. I could have brought home a lot more patterns than that. Every 6 months we were able to order a free bird a pattern. Plus, you know, the pattern books were right there. Temptation abounded. I've been through all the patterns and I've been through a lot of the fabrics and I'm trying to pair them up. I think I'll just go around, starting in front of me and work my way back that way. So this pattern, McCall's 7605, has a very lovely looking pair of wide-legged pants. Elasticated waist, they look really easy. And I have a massive piece of linen look fabric. Now I'm pretty sure it's not linen. I may be wrong. But it's navy blue. It's got quite a good weight to it. You know, it could be linen or it could be a blend maybe, or it could just be cotton. I'm not sure. But I think this navy fabric would make a great pair of wide leg pants. Let's see, I would be making this size, view B, and I would need probably 2.2 meters, and I'm sure I have plenty for that. So that's potential project number one. The second project I have in mind, which I have been planning probably since sometime last year. I bought a lot of this clearance quilt cotton when I was up at the, which was it? Probably in the Penticton Fabricland, because we don't have a Fabricland in our town anymore. So I got this and I thought it's my color, right? It's turquoisey. I love it. And it's not a one-way print and I don't need to match patterns. I made this pattern before. It's called McCall 6613, M6613. I made this as a plaid shirt a few years back and I matched the patterns and I was very proud of it. I think I did a really nice job considering it was my first tailored shirt since I made one at school. How long ago was that? Probably 38 years ago, because I was secondary school at the time. And I made it in a turquoise plaid, which I absolutely love. I'm still wearing it. But I want to make another one because I have this idea in mind that I want to be wearing lots of cute patterned tailored shirts instead of just always wearing t-shirts. So I was going to use this, or am going to use this. Let's be positive here. I am going to be using this to make this tailored shirt and just as a practice run, really, because this fabric was like $3 a meter or something ridiculously cheap. So I want to check the fit. The last time I made it, I was probably a bit slimmer. And there's a potential that the shirt I did make has shrunk a bit because it's flannelette or flannel. Yeah, flannel. So I want to make a quilt cotton version with pre-shrunk fabric, be absolutely sure that I'm happy with the fit before I go and make myself a ton of others in different fabrics. Another thing I found was this massive piece of Sherpa fleece, which is lovely and squishy and thick. And I was looking online to get some inspiration for what to use for that. And I found this really cute pattern, and I might not bother printing out the template. I might just hand draw something similar. But there's something called Warren the Charity Bear. And all it is a really simple bear shape with ears. And it comes like a round body, little bumps for the arms, little bumps for the legs. And then you can do an applique on the front of the chest or on the or for the muzzle, and put little safety eyes in, and you're pretty much done. And that looked like a really wonderful idea for this Sherpa fleece. I think any kid would be happy to have that, or maybe any grown-up. Why do toys have to just be for kids, right? So that's my plan for that one. I might just make it as big as possible within the constraints of the size of the fabric. And if I have scraps left, I'll probably use them partly to stuff the bear itself. And that way I have no waste at the end of it. Nothing has to go in the bin. This toweling, I got a massive piece of this pink toweling from a friend who had been given a ton of a woman's stash who died. The husband passed on her stash to my friend. She gave me a chance to look through what there was. I am running out of voice. This is a huge piece. Now, I would normally never buy something this pink. I would normally go for another color for myself. But what I am going to make with this is a head wrap, like a shaped head wrap turban thing to go on my hair after a shower, and a matching bath towel that either elasticates or velcros, so that I can walk from the bathroom to my bedroom in my house full of men and not worry about having to hold my towel up or that it might drop off. Don't worry, I've never flashed them yet, but I just think it would be nice to have one. It brings to mind the toweling no, hang on, what were they called then? Swimming towels. It brings to mind the swimming towels that I made for my kids when they were small. So when they were probably about 3, 6, and 9, I made 3 things for them to change inside of when they were at the beach. And they absolutely loved them. They were the best things ever. So all it was, toweling, cut in a rectangle, seam down the side, hem around the bottom, hem around the top, elastic through the hem at the top. And so when they stood up in them, the elastic was fairly kind of loose around their neck. And sometimes when they were at the beach, they would put them under their arms so they could wear it. They could walk around in this little sort of strapless dress type arrangement. I mean, it wasn't a dress, it was a towel. But if you come out from a cold lake, from a swim in the cold lake, and you want to be warm, you could stick it around you to be warm. You could dry off with it. You could change inside it. That was the most important thing, really, was that they could change around in it. So I'm falling over my words here. So you put it over your head sticks out, you can still see around, but you can take your wet things off and you can put your dry things on without flashing your bum at everybody. And they used them all the time until they grew out of them or wore them out. As each one got bigger, he adopted the older son's towel. Eventually, of course, the oldest one grew out of his. Actually, I made it pretty big because he was a very tall kid. And I think I could use the biggest one myself. But of course, he got out of using it as he got into his teen years. He didn't hang out at the beach as much with the rest of us, and so the biggest one got used by the medium kid, and the medium one got used by the small kid. And it was the best thing ever. And I think I want to duplicate that for myself. Unlikely to take this to the beach to change in, but I never say never. But I think it would be great to have one for the house. So I have a crap ton of this stuff, and I think I'm going to just make sure I've got a convenient piece to cut the head wrap out of. I did find, where did I find the pattern for that? HelloSewing.com. They had a sketch. It wasn't really a downloadable pattern as such, but it was a way they had drawn it out and put the measurements on it so you could draw it straight onto a towel or toweling. DIY hair towel wrap, it's called. And so it's a less bulky way of wrapping your wet hair after a shower or a bath. And I just thought it was amazingly wonderful. So I'm going to make that. I'm going to make this changing towel for myself. And then I can just pull it on after a shower. I can stretch it around my upper chest and walk around in it, and hands-free. Perfect, right? So that's that idea. Okay, I'm running out of space. Hang on a minute. Move that over. There we go. I've been making copious notes about all these things. Another thing I have a pattern. It's Butterick 6848. Now this one, it's made for stretch fabrics. You can do a round neck or a V-neck. I was originally going to do a V-neck, but I think the round neck would be easier. I suppose I should challenge myself, shouldn't I? I should do the V-neck. You can do a colour blocked version, or you can do one with no sleeves, cap sleeves, or 3/4 sleeves by the look of it. Or maybe long. Wow, all this talking is really drying me out. It looks to me like, yeah, you can do pretty much any kind of sleeve arrangement and a V-neck or a round neck. So I have got the pattern pieces out for the V-neck version. I've got them ready because this is what I did the other night as well. Here we go. Here's a pile of knit fabrics. Hold on, I've got to move my papers now. This pile of knit fabrics here, I put them through the laundry the other night. I washed and dried them in the machines because I thought if I'm going to start sewing with them, I really need to have them ready so I can just grab and go. I'll show you what I've got here. I have this. This is, what do you call that? It's an activewear fabric. It's got the knitted, I suppose it's like a sweatshirting. It's too heavy for that t-shirt, but it's smooth on that side, fluffy on that side. And that's quite a small piece. So I'm not sure what I'm going to make with that, but I will come up with something. The reason I wash these is so that I can get them made into something. So that's a black piece of sweatshirting. This purple, I think this is the purple I was planning to try the t-shirt with. Now it's actually knitted as a tube. And I did notice that where the fold was, there was a pale line, like it had faded a bit along the fold line. And so I thought, there it is. There's a little bit of a faded line where it was folded. So when I cut my pieces out, I'm going to have to make sure that that faded line is not landing on my pattern piece, or it will look horrible. So I think I have just enough. I'm pretty sure this is like 1.1 meter, 1.1 meters, which is about 10 centimeters too little in theory for making the t-shirt, but I'm going to try anyway. I'm going to try squeezing it into that. So that needs to go with that pattern right there. And then I have another, what I call a sweatshirt fleece in purple. I didn't pay for any of this. I'm pretty sure my friend Annette gave me a sack of stuff a year ago. Less than a year ago, maybe 6 months ago. She was clearing her stuff out. And I said, I was going to look through it and send some stuff off to the thrift store, and I ended up keeping just about all of it. So I have, yeah, that's probably about 1 meter of purple sweatshirt fleece, which gives me an idea. This and that black are so similar. I could probably color block something. I bet you I could make something which has like a purple body and black sleeves or something. That would be awesome. So those two definitely belong together. And then this one, oh, I think this is more of it. This might be more of the same, actually. This looks very similar. Another bit of purple sweatshirting. It's the same or similar. It does look very, very similar. And then there's this bit, which is a dark reddish colour. Again, fluffy on the back. A little bit too warm for a t-shirt. Again, made into a tube. There's a chunk missing from that. I was going to say I have over 1 meter of that, but actually I probably only have about 0.8 of a meter there, and then this bit has a bit cut out, probably about another half or 0.6. So I'm not sure what I'm going to use the scrappier bits for. But again, colour blocking is a thing. Okay, it's going with its friends there, because those three are so similar, that I think they can belong together. Now this, I have no idea what this is. It's probably polyester. It's a very thin polyester knit in a navy. Which is the selvage here. Okay, so it's very wide. It's probably 150 centimeters, but it's exceedingly stretchy. Okay, so there's my selvage. So I've got maybe 0.7 of a meter of that. And I think probably the best thing to do with that be to make a big infinity loop scarf, like a double loop one. I've made quite a few of those, but now that I have the serger, I could probably run up a double loop infinity scarf in 5 minutes. So that's what I think that's going to become. That's easy. And then I've got this one. This is a heavy piece of fabric. It's another knit. It's a huge, huge piece. Where's the selvage? Yeah, here's the selvage. So I probably have, what? A couple of meters of that. Insanely wide. And I have no idea what I'm going to do with that. You know what? Wide leg pants or trousers would be fantastic for that as well, if I had enough of it. Or I do have a pattern for some like harem pant style ones that I've made before with a woven fabric, and I do love them a lot. I wonder if it would work with a knit fabric. It's not super stretchy. Even on the crosswise grain, it's really not that stretchy. The only thing is they need so much fabric because the pieces are massive to cut out and they're funny shapes. So I'm going to have to make a decision on that sometime. So that's those. God, so much fabric. I do kind of like having to be creative with deciding what to make and how to make it with a limited amount of fabric, though. I just think it pushes you to be a little bit more, I don't know, think more outside of the box, rather than saying, I'm going to make that, this is how much fabric I need, go out and buy that, and make it. I made a list of some other possible ideas, like headbands, toques, cowls, ear warmers. Had a look online to get some inspiration, and of course I went through the patterns. So one of the things I could do is make something else out of this pattern. It's shiny, isn't it? Hold on a minute, let me get the envelope out of here. So this McCall's pattern, the number is 7061. I love this one. I have made, I think, just about everything out of this. I've made the top in different lengths. I've made the top as a sweatshirt in a couple of different lengths and styles. I've made this dress length one with matching pajama pants and slippers. I've done the slippers too, the little fuzzy slippers. The slippers are a pain because there's no way of actually having them grip your foot. They tend to slide around a lot, unfortunately. But I made a rainbow set for a Pride Month display while I was at Fabricland, and the top is crazy stripes of rainbow. The bottoms are red, and then the slippers are rainbow and red. And I wear them in the winter all the time. It's great. I'm not sure if I've made the shorts. I may have made the shorts too. So this is a great sweater pattern, and I could easily use this to make a colour block top out of this pile back here. Easily. So I will pop that on that pile right there. One of my favourite tops that I made out of that pattern is buffalo plaid, and I made it with a red and black buffalo plaid and a white and black one, and then actually two scales of red and black buffalo plaid, a large one and a small one, and all the pieces are different. Like the body is one thing, the sleeves are another, the kangaroo pocket is another. I just love that sweater so much. So this is a pullover top which I've never made before, and it's for Stretch Fabrics. It's Vogue 8636, so that's a possible. I have this one which has sweatshirt and vest variations, and I thought, how fun would it be to have a vest, a hooded vest out of that one, or waistcoat if you like, or gilet depending on where you live. And I do like the idea of that. So View D is my favorite out of all those, I think. And I don't think I paid for this pattern. I'm pretty sure that when I was working there, or it may have been, I think it was just one of the days I was in the shop and I was shopping, and a customer knew I worked there, and she said to me, do you want this bag? And she had started to make one of these items. She had the pieces all cut out and she was struggling with the construction. So she gave me the unfinished vest and the pattern just in a bag, and I took it off her hands and I thought, great, fine, all right then. It's quite tailored. There's some interesting seam details on here. There's a chest pocket or breast pocket there, and there's a zipper. Putting zippers into fleece isn't my favorite thing either. I've made a few fleece onesies, and putting that long zipper down the front was a nightmare. But I'm willing to give it a go. So I'm going to put that on that pile too, because I might decide to do that instead. This is another one I just randomly have. And it also has some tops in it. Now, I am not a ruffly person. I would not make this one in a month of Sundays. But I would make this one here with the ruffled sleeves. Absolutely would. I've made myself a top similar to this before with the side ruffle on the body, but I didn't use a pattern, I copied one that I had bought commercially, and that's one of my favourite tops too. So I think probably a lighter weight fabric for that would probably work rather than a sweatshirting. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do that, but I'm keeping it out. I have another sweatshirt pattern here. This one's rather fun. It's made in a furry fabric. That would be fun to sew, wouldn't it? I don't think so. But that's just a really basic sweatshirt with an optional hood and a welt. And yeah, I think I could manage that. So that's also a possibility for that pile. This one I have made a couple of times. This is McCall's 8241. And I made this. It's just a voluminous poncho-y thing. It's a really, really simple shape. Which one did I make? I don't know. It could have been view C. I'm not sure. I don't know if you can see that. But it's just a big piece of fabric, or two big pieces of fabric for the back and the front. Teeny tiny cuffs and a little collar. Very quick and easy. After I made myself one, I made a friend one as well. I just thought, you know, she'd like something like that. Because it's so voluminous, I probably didn't need to size up for her because it ended up being absolutely ginormous. And I think she ended up just using it as a blanket on her bed. It was so big. But yeah, as long as she's enjoying having it, that's all right. And then this one is one I've made lots of times. It's Berda 6990. And I really, really love this top. Now, I'm trying to remember which view of this one I made. I think the one I made the most was view B. Just has a round neck, quite a high round neck. And raglan seams, I love raglan seams or sleeves on me. They really, really fit me well. And they're so easy to put in compared to a set-in sleeve. So easy. I did try making one of the other necklines once in this pattern, and I think it turned out wrong. I think it turned out being too high or something. It didn't work. Pretty sure view B was the one I did. I made a couple of these in very beautiful polyester prints from Fabricland that I wore and wore and wore. Unfortunately, they have got a little bit discoloured around the armpits over time. I guess my deodorant is a little oily, a little greasy, and a couple of the tops have got a little bit greyed out. But I could definitely use more of those, and I would wear those to death. And I love a 3/4 inch sleeve as well. Is a 3/4 inch sleeve something that middle-aged or older women like because they cover up the bingo wings? Maybe. I don't know. If I have long sleeves, I'm always pushing them up to do dishes or whatever, or just because they bug me when they're around my wrists, right? And then short sleeves are like, And cap sleeves are definitely a no-no. I do not like cap sleeves. So 3/4 length sleeves are awesome. And I really think that I want to make more of these. This is also a potential for this thinner purple knit. But because I've made this multiple times, I'd really like to make this other pattern just to be doing something different. But I will definitely make more of these in future. So that was that. That was after I had been through all of these things. The ones in the Ziplocs, the ones I've made before, and I didn't want to try stuffing the pieces back in the envelope. But yeah, there's some definite fun patterns in here. This is the one, 7518, that I used for the onesies. I made a Hello Kitty onesie and I made a buffalo plaid onesie. And I also made a llama onesie for my sister out of this. So I really love these. It's quite a bit of work, especially, as I said, with that zipper. But makes a lovely product. All right, we're not going to go through all of that because it's going to get too much. But I want to show you one more thing. Let's get this out of the way. get myself another slurp of tea, and I want to show you. Okay, so after all this evening of making all these wonderful plans for how to reduce the stash, I drop in on my friend the other day and she gives me more stuff. Oh my God. So I'm going to show you what that is. I haven't even got it out of the bag since I got it home, because as soon as I got home, I put it in here, went upstairs, had dinner, forgot about it. So this heavy bag of stuff is what I brought home from her house, because she also is destashing a little bit right now. Her art studio and sewing area is just amazing. Absolutely amazing. But she is looking at stuff that she has had for maybe years that she has not used, and she's clearing out. So it was going to go to the thrift store if I didn't take it home. So I had to take some of it home. Let's see what's in here. Okay, so little bit of fluffy batting, could be used for quilting or patchwork, or even just stuffing. Just a little piece that's going to go in the pile of batting over here. Boom. See, that didn't take up much extra space, did it? This piece here is monk's cloth. Oh, it feels so nice. She's washed it already and it's so soft. Now, I remember that when I was working at Fabricland, people would buy monk's cloth and they would do needle punch on it. And I've never done needle punch and I don't intend to, but I do want to use this monk's cloth for something. It's absolutely lovely. It's really soft and it's a loose weave. It looks, when you look at it close up, it almost looks like that cross-stitch fabric, the Ada, but it's a lot looser of a weave. And it's quite a good chunk of cloth there. So I'm not sure what I'm going to use that for. It would make a lovely throw though. Just as is, a lovely natural throw. It's not really quite big enough for that. But it's so heavy and so tactile. It's just like, Okay, I'm going to come up with something for that at some point. There's another piece of the monk's cloth in grey. A smaller piece. Now that will go with that. What else is there? As I say, I brought it home a couple of days ago and now I can't remember what's in here. There's a lovely crisp piece of what feels like upholstery fabric. It's probably about 1/2 metre of upholstery fabric. And that can easily become a large tote bag for Dress for Success, which is who I made those 9 tote bags for in February. I can donate another tote bag. I'm not sure. I think I might have to start adding to my stash of webbing because I'm very low on webbing. But yeah, all right. Well, think about this, Nicola. Why not just sew the handles out of the same fabric? So if I can, I could just sew the handles, can't I? But it is nice to have webbing to hand if you need it. So that definitely can become a tote bag. What else have we got? Oh, she was giving away this Simplicity pattern, number 7005, which is probably quite old, judging by the style of what these people are wearing. I'm thinking it's probably quite old. Look at those. So this pattern has, what does it have? It has hats, scarves, gloves, a bag, mittens. I think there was a hooded scarf. Yes, a hooded scarf. And because I had just the night before this, I had been going through all of these fabrics thinking, what am I going to do with them? And then the next day I was at her house and I saw this. I thought, I have to have this because any small scraps of fleece can become something out of this envelope. So I snapped that up straight away. Let's put that, actually, I'm going to leave that with my pile of fabrics for definitely, pile of patterns, I mean, for definitely want to make. Here's another gorgeous, gorgeous piece of fabric. Look at that. It's an upholstery fabric again, like a cotton upholstery fabric, heavier than quilting, not hugely thick, but honestly, so gorgeous. And I think if I was to make a tote bag out of that, it's actually not the full width of fabric. I think that's been cut. But as long as I have enough to make two sides of the tote and the bit left over, I can make the straps out of the bit on the side. So this is going to be perfect. Again, that's got to be a tote for that women's organisation that helps women get dressed and ready for interviews to get jobs and help them get a step up in life. What else is there? Oh, I love this. I didn't even realize what this was. This is a tiny scrap, but look what it is. It's a Canadian Inukshuk pattern. Oh, I wish I had more of that. That is so fun. If you're not in Canada, do you know what Inukshuk are? I will explain. It's very simple. A lot of the time, if you are on the coast in Canada, or even on the side of a lake, and there are rocks available, people will build them up into interesting shapes and formations. And an Inukshuk, this one is obviously very humanoid. So characters or art pieces built up just from rocks you find on the lakeshore or the seashore. And yeah, it seems like everybody in Canada knows what those are and likes to indulge every now and again. So I'm very happy to have that piece of fabric. And then we've got this bit. This is interesting. Is this two different pieces? Oh, it is. Okay. There's a small piece of this, which is Indigenous art. Oh, I love it so much. There's that one. And then there's just a stripy one. Aha. Oh, I have more Indigenous art. Fantastic. So there's this piece, which is printed with totem poles. Wonderful. And this piece, again, more Indigenous art. And a batik, as you know. Batiks are one of my favourite things in the whole wide world. There's this scarf, which she said I might want to cut up and use for something. And I thought, well, I might just want to wear that because it's rather lovely. It feels like it's probably made of rayon. There's a rather unusual yellow ombre fabric, which is quite stiff. Again, that doesn't feel like quilt cotton. It feels more like a cotton sheeting or something, actually. Aha! More of that fabric. Some rather pretty pink fabric. Wine corks. Oh, look at this. Isn't this absolutely glorious? So this is quite a big piece. And I could use that in a sewn project, or I could cut the butterflies out and use them in either slow stitching or decoupage or something. So that is So beautiful. Here's another piece of upholstery fabric. That can easily be another tote bag. And then there's just a couple more little bits, something with lots of beautiful rainbow colours on. Another one of my favourite things. More Indigenous art. And just a lovely sort of random blobby fabric that would work great as a background for something. And then also this lovely one. Look at the colours in that. Isn't that lovely? And that's the bag empty. So I am going to put those 3 upholstery fabrics aside for using soon. The idea was to get the knits attacked, but I could easily run up some quick tote bags with those. The monk's cloth, I don't know, and the rest of that, I'm not sure. Quilt cottons can just go straight into the quilt cotton bins up there. Whew, so that's that. So you know what? I thought that I might, oh, excuse the sound from upstairs. If you can hear the Vitamix going, obviously middle son is making his smoothie for the day, I was going to sew something, probably the head wrap from this toweling, and include that in today's video, but I just realised I've already been talking for an hour. And most of it's going to be staying in because there won't be much to cut out. There's just a couple of places where I had to do a little splicing because I had to check my microphone was still on, like this. I have to do this a lot because if that little green light goes out, I have a problem. So there won't be any sewing today, I'm afraid, but I hope you enjoyed seeing what I have made in the craft department the last few days and seeing a bit of the stash. And the reason for showing you all of this, just to get to the point, I don't think I pointed that out. I want April to be my stash down month. So I want April to be a concerted effort at sewing all of these things up and actually getting them converted into something usable and or wearable. So I don't think, after all, I know I said in one of my previous videos that I wanted to join in with Annie Claxton's Arty Farty swap. What did she call it? She called it, oh, Hands Around the World. I think that's what she called it. And she suggested that people might want to do bunting. And I thought I wanted to join in with it this time. But you know what? I think it's more important that I focus on using up my stash. And I prefer the idea of having my own challenge rather than feeling like I'm having to do something to send off to somebody and feeling that kind of pressure. At least the pressure here is on myself, and I'm the only one who suffers if I don't follow through. So that's going to be that for today. I hope you had fun. I had fun. Happy spring equinox. We're at a time when the day and the night are pretty much equal length, and the days are just going to get longer and the nights are going to get shorter. I like the shoulder seasons. I do like them for their mild temperatures, and spring is definitely a time of joy as you see all of the trees and the flowers and things opening up around you, and the lawn greens up and starts to look a little less brown. So I hope wherever you are enjoying your crafts. I hope you are safe and well, and I'll see you again next time, having hopefully made some inroads into my piles. That sounded terrible. Okay, not those sorts of piles. my piles of fabric. I'm not going to edit that out. I'm going to leave that in. That should give you a laugh. See you next time. Bye for now.